to the channel. Whether you're old or a new viewer, you are very welcome. Thank you for watching. Today's video is probably a video I should have done a year ago, really. I started my channel at the end of August 2021, and probably an introduction video to kind of make a little more sense about where I've started from might have made more sense, really, but I didn't do it then because, let's be honest, I had no clue what I was doing at all, how to film, how to see whether I'm even in shot. What am I talking about? Oh, I'm talking. It's all a bit strange. It's a bit of a learning curve, is YouTube, so I didn't do it at the time. But today's video is very much I'm going to show you a good chunk of the colourings that I've done up to now. But this first bit of this video is really about how I got into colouring in the first place. Kind of my colouring journey, really. So you can kind of see how I got to this point. And obviously you can ask me about these things if you want to. So my day job, I work in high schools in the UK. My history is teaching textiles, which this is one of my textile books, hence why it's on the table. And I thought I'd kind of show you a little bit about what I do in the classroom, so it kind of makes sense maybe to how I've got to the point where I am with the colouring. So I teach textiles, I teach a little bit of art as well now. So but what we basically do is quite a bit of stitch work. That's kind of my degree. That's what I've done in the past. So this is like a demo book for the kids, really. It's not really my work, if you kind of see what I mean. But yeah, this is just research. So they do machine embroidery, they try different techniques out, layering different things, just to kind of give a bit of a different idea. And obviously they're drawing things, they're talking about it, they're doing some handwork, those kind of things. And I might show them how to make a little decorative bag using different materials, or we might make a book or some book pages that you can then tie together to kind of bring it all together. But yeah, this is kind of what I do in the day. So I don't know, does that make sense? I'm not sure, but hopefully it does. But yeah, let's get that out of the way, and then I'll show you some of my other stuff. But I thought that kind of might bring perspective into kind of where I'm coming from and how I've ended up in this point. And if I'm really honest, my hobby for many years, probably since maybe even the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s, has most definitely been card making. And that I have done a lot of, and that has been, I suppose I would say, papercraft, not just cards in particular, but that has been my main hobby for a very long time. I'm going to bring it down because my sketchbook was massive and we don't need to be that high up anymore for these that I'm about to show. So card making was my thing, and I've got a big handful, but I'm going to stick them over there. So yeah, I did card making for so long, and I'll probably pop some photographs in at some point as well on the screen to kind of show you other stuff that I might have made. And I think for ages and ages, obviously the difficulty with card making is you're giving away everything you've made, and for a long period of time I didn't really photograph anything I've made, and I didn't keep a record of what I've made, or how I made it, or what I used, or how I made it, and those kind of things, really. Because yeah, I suppose it was a hobby. I didn't really think about wanting to keep a record of it, really. The process, excuse me, I just picked something up that I've stupidly knocked off. The process was really the fun bit for me, and trying out new techniques, and thinking about tag, not just a card, but yeah, trying out new I've got two of them. Two of the same that I've not posted to anybody, but yeah, certainly trying new techniques out, layering paper, stamping. This is one of those that folds up like that, stands up. And my little owls do a little dance. But yeah, so card making was a massive thing, and working with paper and card and those kind of things was, yeah, just how I started doing things that were creative that weren't work, if that makes sense. 'Cause in some respects, teaching something that you did for pleasure can be quite tricky, really, because you end up that you're something that was your relaxation and something you did for fun has become work. And obviously work, even if it's something you enjoy, does start to get a bit stressful, obviously. But what I soon realised, well, not soon, it'd be a liar if I said soon, what I've realised over the last 2 years was that what I was ending up doing was this, and that I'd think, oh yeah, I'm going to make a card using that stamp because I really like it, and then I would stamp this card and I fussy cut these because this is, you know, I don't do anything quickly. Even if there's a shortcut, I will go the long way because I like it how I like it, and I'll colour them all in and I'll fussy cut them because I quite enjoy doing that. And yeah, then I'm like, I'm not sure I like these now. I don't think I'll use them on a card. And so on, it continues. Look, I'll make all of these little things that I can put on my cards. I'll foil them. Obviously, there's so many jammed in here, I can't get them out. I'll colour them all in. I could make like 50 cards with just the tat that I've got in drawers of things that, let's be honest, I've coloured in some cases 3 or 4 times in order to do the layers for these little things. I could have made countless more cards with all of these things, but I've not. And I don't know why it took me literally probably 20 years to realise that what I was enjoying out of the card making, a great deal of it was really about the colouring of the items. I enjoy the layering, I enjoy the creativity of it. I think that is certainly true. You know, I did like thinking, okay, how am I going to layer these up to make them interesting? What other, oh, you hold on, Mr. Santa, you've got Caesar's greeting stuck to you. What other things can I use on him to make him a bit more interesting? He's got one of those snow pen beards, as well as you can see, he's 2 or 3 layers as well. And they were never just flat in the main, and they were never just coloured in. They had to have foil or glitter or something else. But look, see, this box just goes on and on of tiny things that I've made for cards, but then I've gone, nah, I don't think I like them. I'm not going to use those on cards. I'll just put them in the box full of poor little Christmas creatures. You'll notice mainly Christmas seems to be my most favourite card making, and so on. My little box goes on more. There's more in here. Look, at least little. This was a very favourite. There's a set. I think the Hero Art stamps, these ones, but they were, as you can see, favourites, and it just goes on. Oh, what's that little doggy? Look, it's a little Christmas doggy with a halo, and it just goes on and on. There's more of it. And so yeah, this is where I was before my colouring. Didn't really take a load of pictures. I've got some, they'll have been flipping up hopefully where there was room on the screen of some more finished cards. But yes, I got to the point where I was kind of like, yeah, I don't know whether I'm gonna continue with card making or not, but I've still got all of these bits. Then obviously textiles was still my main thing. Then I decided one year, instead of making cardboard Christmas cards, I would instead make a Christmas card that contains a decoration for people. Oh, hold on, my scissors are cut on my thread and that's not good. I'd make a card that contains a decoration for people. Hopefully I'm inserting it at this point. So I handmade these little hearts, and then as you can see, there are just 1 or 2 beads that I've hand stitched on, and I made a lot of these for this year, the year that I sent these, and these were extremely time consuming because these are very small beads that I hand beaded, and I used to, well, I still do quite enjoy beading. However, as I've got older, my eyes do not enjoy hand beading. A further year, I was going to make these ones, again, to put in a card. As you can see, I didn't do as many beads for this year, but I made all these. I beaded a good chunk of them, and then I decided, no, actually, I don't like them. I'm not sending them. So I still have those in a drawer. But in the main, I've not sent because I didn't like them. Now, I'm going to just pause and clear up this desk because it's driving me nuts. But we will be back. Okay, I'm back. Look, space on my desk. It's an absolute mess. So, card making. Been doing it, obviously, a very long time. But yeah, kind of just felt like there was something missing, really. And I think it is that kind of... You don't get to kind of look what you've done and see your progression because you're pretty much giving away all of your art, really, all the time. And I don't really know why, but I didn't really do a great deal of photography of what cards I'd done till much later. I suppose, really, when I started my Instagram, I suddenly thought, oh, maybe I should have been photographing these things, not just making them and giving them away. But I didn't, and there you go. And anyway, I still felt I was searching something, and hence my other two little boxes. So I'd enjoyed beading. I'd done those cards that I enjoyed. So then I started to think, well, maybe I'll make some little brooches with some beading. And before you know it, excuse the plastic, because I have been keeping them in plastic so they didn't get completely destroyed. So then I started making these little brooches, which if you've been on my Instagram, you will have seen them because I think they're right at the bottom when I first started making some of these little handmade brooches. So I made the felt, handmade the felt that's in them, not the white felt but the coloured felt, so hand carded and made the felt and then made them into, well, in this case, a little keyring, but most of them are little brooches, and there's a whole chunk of them which I won't get them all out because it's not really the point of today's video. But yeah, I quite enjoyed making all these kind of things, but realistically my eyesight now is not at a point where you can do this kind of tiny little beadwork, because it is really small and really detailed, and it's really hard going on the eyes because the needle for these is pretty tiny. Can I reach a ruler so that you can kind of get it in perspective? So when I'm saying the beads are tiny, they really are very small beads, and these are not very big pieces, so kind of 2 inches, a little bit longer when you're on the length of it. But yeah, I really enjoyed making them. They're very time consuming to make because the precision of the beadwork is enough to drive most people mad, I know, but I really enjoyed doing it. But my eyesight did not enjoy doing it, so these are all I will ever make. I was going to sell them, but you know, now I can't sell them because I'm not going to make any more, so I'm keeping them. Which leads me, I had to tidy them up, sorry, they were driving me mad. Which leads me nicely onto looking for another hobby, really, because my eyes could not take it anymore and I still wanted something creative to do. And as you can see from the cards, Christmas cards I really love doing. So November, December, I was busy. But, you know, there's a few more months in that, aren't there? So colouring started to come up on my radar a little bit, and I think 2018 I bought this. Where's the other one gone? Is it on the bottom? It had to be on the bottom, didn't it? I bought this, and I bought these beauties. You can see how much I use them because they're so dusty, sorry. Don't use them. So yeah, bought these because I did kind of what everybody does, I suppose. You go, or you start, oh, maybe this hobby's for me, and you start doing some reading, don't you? And I think I joined some Facebook groups, and everybody was kind of, oh, Millie Marotta, Joanna Basford. Let me go out a little bit because obviously these are a little bit bigger than the other things we've been using. So I bought 2 items that I thought, well, these seem to be the things that people were doing. I'll come back to this one in a minute. And I ummed and ahed over pencils for quite a while because, as you know, even now, let's be honest, the Prisma Poly conversation goes on a while, doesn't it? And there's no right or wrong to it, is there? I think what I now know is it's personal choice, isn't it? It's personal feel of the pencils, how they lay down paper, what kind of paper do you prefer, what kind of books do you work in. It's which ones suit you. But this is my first set of polychromos. I have not replaced any, which shows you how much I've used it, considering I did buy this with Christmas money in 2018 January from the 2017 Christmas, and this is how much I've used of it. Not a huge amount, am I? And I don't know why, really. It's one of those sets of pencils that I think I probably just need to work with them more and get a feel for them and feel more comfortable with them, because they are beautiful pencils. They're so well made. You know, you pick them up and they feel like a really quality product. You have got some really lovely colours in them. But I didn't enjoy them. I didn't enjoy them way back in 2018. I don't really know why. I did try and start to colour in this book with these pencils in Millie Marotta's Animal Kingdom, because this obviously was a book that was popular in the time. Well, Millie Marotta was. Oop, hello, where's my page gone? I know it's somewhere towards the front. And I did think, this is a lovely book, I'll colour this. It arrived, I was quite pleased with it. Can't find the page now, how annoying. Sorry, I should have marked it beforehand. I might skip you through. Oh, there we go. And so here is my first ever colouring in a colouring book. Isn't it amazing? No, it's not. And I got that far. And yeah, it didn't hook me at all. I mean, it's okay, but there's no great shakes in it, isn't there? And yeah, I didn't open this book ever again. I did that much. And I still haven't come back to this book. I think, again, it's about knowing your own style, isn't it, and what suits you. I don't love Millie Marotta's style. It's, well, those pages, no. That's just not for me. But I don't love all of this line work, and as you just seen from the kind of textiles and things I've made, precision is important to me. It is what interests me, it attracts me. So when I see something like this, I kind of do feel I have to colour every little tiny little shape. I think now common sense would tell me just colour over the whole row if you don't like it. And maybe there's pages in here I could now tackle using that technique of just colouring what I want to colour in from it. But I think when you're starting off in a hobby, you don't feel brave enough to make those decisions, or even occur to you to do those kind of things, really. But yeah, even when I'm looking back at it now, that a page doesn't pop up that I think, oh, I really wish I'd worked in that. No, it's honestly probably not a book for me. And if I was destashing, it's highly likely when I destash they just go to school and the kids will use them after school and things, so they still get used. But I still can't quite let myself let go of it. I don't like the defeat of it, I think, but I know it's not for me, really. Then, obviously, Joanna Basford was massive at the time. Well, still is, isn't she, really? But I thought, no, I won't get a book. What I'll get is a day-to-day calendar. That was a mistake. It's a lovely box, and at some point I will do the box, because the box is paper and card, and it's lovely. But don't look, it's so bad. It has all of these little pages that are obviously from a variety of her books. I think it was Under the Sea, Enchanted Forest and Secret Garden that's in here. I don't think there's World of Flowers in here, but I could be wrong. And yeah, it was, if I'm honest, it was a silly place to try and start colouring. But again, you don't know, do you, when you're beginning? These are all pretty small, tiny sheets anyway, and then the images are pretty small on some of these. So I mean, even this Christmas tree, which is lovely in the real book, but it's so tiny in here. And so I think when I came to kind of try and colour some of these, I was like, well, how can I colour in some of these little tiny pieces? So I think I bought a set of the Staedtler fine liners, which is what I did this in, but it's horrible. Obviously I was trying pencils out on the other side of it. I think I've actually thrown away a couple of the other bits in here because they were so bad I just couldn't contain looking at them. So I don't even know why I've kept this dreadful piece. But yeah, I've kept some purely because I thought, oh, maybe I'll use a couple of these images in my journal or something like that. When I look back on it now, maybe some of them I might use, but some I definitely, like that's not going to get coloured. Some I definitely won't use just because they're way too small, and realistically I'm a very slow colourer, as we all know already. I can't do one of these in a day, not in the style and quality that I feel comfortable with. Plus it's chopped his tail off. I can't be doing the drawings that are chopped up into strange arrangements, and there's a lot of that going on in this book as well, which I just find upset. Like it's a bit of a chunk of a tree, but not all the chunk of a tree. So yeah, again, in many respects this is a lovely thing, and I don't think she sells these anymore. But I don't think the images selected were particularly appropriate size, and it certainly wasn't a great place for a beginner to start. So the two of these together with my favourite pencils that, as you know, are not my favourite pencils, yeah, it was a bit of a failed start to this as a hobby. And I think I did, not enjoying these, think, okay, it's my birthday coming up, I'll get some Prismas because they were the other ones that everybody was raving about, and I have not got the box for them anymore, but I did get 132 set because that was fairly reasonable at the time. But again, Prismas with tiny little things like this and tiny little things like this was also not helpful, so that did not cure my problem. And at that point my hobby died for 2 years. And yeah, I do feel bad about it really, but it was just bad choices, not enough knowledge, and I bought products that didn't grab my attention. And that was it. That was the end of colouring. I continued with my beading and card making and paper craft and things like that until we got to Christmas, because I do enjoy colouring in Christmas cards. And so B&M, lovely store that's in the UK, very cheap, bargain store. I think I bought this thinking, oh, I could maybe use some of the pages for kids that had finished work at school. They could colour some of those in while they're waiting for their periods to finish and things like that, because I think these were £1, these books, or something like that. And then I bought it and I enjoyed it, and I was like, no, the kids are not working in this book, I'm having it. So I started on this page, and if I'm honest, this cheap £1 book is undoubtedly the book that kind of sucked me into colouring. And it's not a great page. I think I have shown it before around Christmas colouring last year. You know, now I look at it and think, you know, there's loads wrong with it. Ugh, why have I done that? But it doesn't matter, because it was a starting point for my journey, and something about this book just interested me to colour it. I really enjoyed the poinsettia. I don't hate the poinsettia, considering it was my first. I hate what I've done with the baubles. I hate the background. The candles, let's not even mention the light. What is this? Terrible. But as you can see, I did use mixed media on here. So I've watercoloured it, and then I've worked back over with coloured pencil. There's glitter on here. Terrible glitter. Horrible, cheap, nasty glitter. It's not even just in the places it should be. It's anywhere. But something about this book grabbed me, and yeah, introduced me to colouring and made me look what other books were about. This one was Christmas last year, I think, so Christmas 2021. But something about this book that's totally fallen apart because I've used the water in it and it's just got a glue spine. yeah, just interested me, and so I did that one last year, and I probably will do another one in this book. I'm going to have to get it bound of some type, I think, but I'm thinking I will colour it first and then get it bound, because it is just falling apart. I think I did do that background as well the first year. It's not terrible, it's maybe savable, but I've kind of gone over the baubles and all sorts. And then I did this hideous yellow background, which last year over Christmas I did kind of go over with gold and a mustard to try and tone it down a bit, but it's a bit patchy at the top there, can you see? So yeah, this book, I have a lot to thank this pound book for, because yeah, it kind of started a hobby that I've really enjoyed. At some point I am going to be good and give away one, because I have been hoarding a spare. Maybe if I get to 2,000 followers or something like that, I will give away a book and some of my watercolours, because I have got this spare copy that is not falling apart, which is not I hoarded. Oh, there's some other colouring that I've done. Oh, it's terrible. Quick, hide it. But yeah, I have got a spare for it as well. And yeah, so that was the start really of my colouring journey and getting into this hobby. Yeah, and so from here, obviously you do a bit of reading, don't you, and you start to have a look at what other colouring books are around, who the other artists were, and yay, finally come across the lovely Hanna Karlzon. And so I remember spending ages and ages looking at Amazon, looking at the images. Obviously there's lots of images about, isn't there, and thinking which one to get first, which one will I like. And I thought, oh, Jewellery Box, that must be interesting, surely that would be a good choice. It is a lovely book, and now I probably would feel confident doing a lot more in it, but when it first came, oh, don't look, it's so bad. When it first came, oh dear, don't look, like I needed to keep the list of this disaster. So this will be polychromos, or maybe is it Prisma looking at my list? I'm not thinking that list. I don't think this can be Prisma looking at the texture on the paper, so I'm thinking that must be a list from somewhere else. But yeah, I did start on this page and I did really enjoy doing it. It's awful, I don't like it now when I look at it, but I enjoyed it at the time and it was a starting point, and that's fine, isn't it? And then you go online and look at the people's and think that was an absolute disaster. What were you doing on that page? And then I thought, oh, I'm going to do this book in order. No you're not, Wendy. So I started on these games. No idea what that even is. Looks like a yellow highlighter, isn't it? What was I thinking? I don't think it is a yellow highlighter. But then this book obviously has a lot of gold. Clearly I was going to do that page at some point and have not. Let's get rid of that. But yeah, I did get this book and did do not very much in it. This one is a much later one. Certainly not at the time when I bought this book. Some kind of watercolour background on this one, and a bit of probably Pentel Dual Hybrid, knowing me, or Signo Sparkling Glitter, one of the two on there. But I think that's pretty much all I've done. Oh no, I'm telling lies. These were fairly early. This was definitely in my first year of colouring. Looks like a watercolour background, bit of some kind of gel pen going on the bird, and these were probably the first kind of few crystally things that I had a go at, and it is a learning curve with crystals. Even my cherries are a bit flat now, I'm looking at them from on this page, but this was certainly one of my early days colouring. No idea what pencils these are looking at them. I think most of this is watercolour as a base, even the birds, I think, looking at it close to. Sorry, looking at it myself and not looking what you can see. That pen's appropriate on the leaves, isn't it? Line pen. Get rid of the lines. Even in the early days, I didn't like the lines. Yeah, no clue. I think it still might be polychromos, looking at the cherries and the texture of the paper that's still left. And I think that's one of the issues, maybe because I work in quite a lot of Hannah's books, and I don't like when you can still see that kind of pencil texture on the paper. Now I know I could use a blender and flatten it, and you can get rid of it, can't you? But polys do that quite a bit, and I don't enjoy the look of it, and it's another job to flatten it. So maybe that's one of the reasons. Oh, I think I've gessoed that page stupidly. Or maybe I've inked. I think I've inked her lines out a little bit. It'll crack off. More. Oh, see, I think I was practicing gold on there. But yeah, I've not really come back to this book a huge amount. Oh, there's one. Nice bug, terrible background. This background's getting something done with it at some point. Quite like the bug. Quite like the gems in the bugs. I think they've worked okay, but horrible. At some point I've obviously gone, no, get a blender on it. What on earth? So yeah, at some point it will have a proper flat background. Might even leave that out. That's going to bug me knowing it's like that. But it's not bad for an early colouring, isn't it? I think from memory, these are Black Widows I did this with. I remember doing the wings with Black Widows, because there are some lovely red, orange tones in Black Widows. I really do like the colour palette in them. And they do work nicely in Hanna Karlzon. I should use them more than I do. But this is a beautiful book, but I think it's purely the gold and the gems has put me off working on it back in the early days, because I just didn't know how to do that really. It wasn't something I'd done a huge amount of. And so I picked what seemed to be, at the time, everybody else's favourite. Picked Daydreams. Don't ask me why I'd started colouring the front in. I think it was in an alcohol pen of some description. I'll probably carry on though, I quite like it. And I think I have showed this before at the back. But yeah, this was my proper first full page in Hanna Karlzon after I chickened out of the Jewellery Box book. And I don't hate it. I think even then I enjoyed doing the mushrooms. The mushrooms are always still my favourite now. Background's terrible. Again, this horrible texture. It was, again, polychromos. I quite like bits and pieces of it. For a first skin and a first face, I'm kind of quite pleased I was brave enough to give it a go. Now it kind of feels a bit flat. Yeah, there's lots of bits now that I think, ugh, what have I done there? That's terrible. But I might sort the green background out at some point, but the rest I'm going to live with, because it's part of the journey, isn't it? And I think it's important to kind of stick with what you've got. I've started this ages ago, done a bit more on it, but not a huge amount. I do love doing owls though, so I will come back to this page. I think the metallic paint in the background is some of my own metallic paint, but it definitely needs another coat in some lights. I don't see, like that, it's a bit patchy. It doesn't look too bad when you look at it like that. Quick, just look at it like that. And I've started a bit on the feather work. I love doing owls, I don't love doing feathers. And I think that's as much as I've got done in this book, which in itself is criminal, because Daydreams is a beautiful book. But I've kind of got bogged down in my favourite one, as you know. Actually, I've put it down. Let's grab it. You'll have seen them countless times. I'm only going to whiz through these quite quick because they're in videos all the time. But yeah, I've got stuck down in Magical Dawn. Yeah, I love this book. I don't know why, just something about it really appeals. There's mixtures of all kinds of pencils in here, Prismas, my luminance, there's gelatos in here, there's King Arts, there's watercolour. Yeah, I really enjoy this book. It's fun. I like the mix of images that are in here. I am going to tackle the bottles at some point when I stop chickening out of it. And I've still got a lot to do in here, really. This is a more recent portrait that I've just done. Really enjoyed working on her. She took a long time. Spent a long time on her skin. I put quite a few more layers on her skin than I would normally. The camera actually is making it look a little bit darker than normally. Still got a bit of line work to work on this page, but it's fine enough to see. And then that's the final page in here in my lovely Magical Dawn's most favourite book. Put it back over there so I don't finish the line work on it. Then what else have I got? Grains of Gold is new. I haven't worked in it. No point showing you. I've got a Soulmate and Spirit Animals. One of these was second hand. I think it's this one. It could be wrong. I haven't done anything in any of these yet. I'm looking forward to working in them, but I've kind of want to continue to work in Magical Dawn first. So, oh yeah, this was the second hand one because I've gessoed out some of the other bits and pieces. But yeah, honestly, this was somebody else's, so I've kind of gessoed over what they've done, and I'm going to do something with it, I think. But I've got those unworked in. Very naughty. I've got Seasons that my mother bought me this Christmas just gone. Haven't done anything in it. Not even really looked in it because I'm saving the excitement. I've got Summer Nights, which I haven't done anything in this copy, but we'll come back to that in a second. Oh look, I'm telling a lie. I have started something. I've started a bit of terrible shading. That's it. Nice page though. So what I have worked on is I did get the big versions of these. Magical Dawn I haven't worked in because I have worked in the, or I don't think I have. Oh no, I'm telling lies. Look, there's a fish. Fish is in alcohol? Yeah, so there's some alcohol and some water in my fish, and a lot of gel pen in my fishy. The beauty of these books is obviously you can chuck anything at it, single-sided, you're not worrying about what's going on. The downside is, as you can see, they're just glue bound. So although it's very hard to show actually, super thick card, it really is nice and thick card. They do come out of it, but it's not the end of the world, and they are much easier to work in because you can literally just take the page out. Summer Nights is the version. I don't know why I bought this instead of the book, but in my early days, yeah, I bought this instead of the actual Summer Nights book. I didn't have the book when I bought this, and I thought, oh, the artist's edition. I don't think I fully realised that you didn't get all the images in the artist's edition, so I bought this before I bought the actual book. It's completely falling apart, and I've done bits and pieces in it. This background is a mix of stuff, I think. I don't know if it's Distress ink that's on here, and then I've used some of those Sennelier metallic pastels over the top of it. Might even be some watercolour on it as well. It might just all be watercolour actually. And then obviously gold paint in the middle. It's a whip, but it's a whip from a while ago. But yeah, I really like it as a background, and at some point I will come back in. This, I think I did, my husband bought me Copics for Christmas and my birthday, and obviously I used them a huge amount in card making, but I wasn't really sure how to go about using them in a colouring book, and I only really had these, the Hanna Karlzon books, Daydreams and Jewellery Box, and I didn't really know how to use them in colouring, but this was, yeah, a start. Background's terrible. It's terrible. It is. It's terrible. But the actual flowers, I don't hate, considering it was the first go to try and do colouring with it. And the gems, again, were one of my early attempts at gems. They need a bit more of a highlight on them, I think. Background is awful. What was I thinking? But, you know, it's a learning curve, isn't it? What else have I done in here? Can't get to it. Oh, this was with, have I got them to hand? Because I can never remember what they're called. Are these them? Oh yeah, these are them. This was with, still can't remember what they're called, them in my hand. Again, I bought these for card making. Had them years. What make are they? Oh, they're Ducrafts. Ducrafts Artiste watercolour jewel pens. So they're a brush, quite fine brush on one end, and they're a little nibby thing on the other. I think it's a 60 set or something like that. But I've got these, and I just used to use these with a water brush to brush on the background, and I kind of wanted this kind of drippy effect that I've got going on. And this was a fairly early piece, really. Hadn't really done a huge amount, and that is the nice thing about these artist editions that you can kind of play with things. You can take it out in case it goes everywhere. It doesn't matter because it's going to fall out of this book anyway. I don't love what I've done on the edges of some of these petals. They need a bit more, and the leaves are very dark, aren't they? But I quite like the kind of experimentation on the background. The bird's not brilliant, but I enjoyed the process, and I can still, when I look at this, I can kind of remember doing the background and really enjoying it, and it takes the watercolour on these artist editions so well. And this is the same, I think it's that same set of artiste pens, just with a water brush that I've inked into the background. I think I just used a bigger brush so that it kind of blended in colours that were a little bit closer together, and I've kept it flat. And then I've just worked into the flowers and the bird a little bit more. This was probably one of the first times I've kind of got a bird that kind of came together okay, I think. But I still like this one. Still, there's not a huge amount on this, but I'd change maybe some of this work here, but in the main, it's not too bad. I think that's all I've got done in this book. But yeah, I'm sure there was another one of these that maybe gone walkabout, but yeah, my summer nights, and I quite like that I've coloured the front in on this as well. This was just alcohol pens again, and a bit of glitter, and it already has a bit of gold on it. To begin with, is that all of those? I have the Daydreams version, but as I've not even coloured in the main book, I definitely haven't coloured in that one. Just got it because I saw it and thought that they're going to go. You're not going to be able to get them soon. This one, again, has been on the channel. I think it was in my Too Scared to Colour books. Character, the Portraits book by Hanna Karlzon. And as you know, there's only, as you know if you've watched the other video, there's only this one that I've done in this book. And it was purely because this was a second-hand buy. And the lady that had done it had already done this very dark skin tone in it. And in order for me to live with this book, I needed to at least get it so it looked like it was an okay piece. Background is terrible. I cannot blame her for that. I made the mess of the background. But this was one of my fairly early portraits, really, of Hanna Karlzon. Yeah, it's not too bad. The skin I gessoed over her skin, so the texture is shocking to work on. I can't think, you can see how much wax is on it there when I flick it. So it was a really difficult skin to work on, to try and get any kind of shape in it, really, because the colour she'd put on was so dark. You couldn't really put any more dark tone on to build some shape. So, but yeah, first time I've probably done a gold that I was okay with. I maybe should have drawn a shoulder in so that she doesn't have a severed head, but apparently that didn't occur to me. And the hair's not terrible, but yeah, first go in character. Then I also have the little Winter Dreams postcards, of which this gets chucked in my work bag quite often, hence why it's getting a bit dinged. But I've done the little Christmas candle one year. I think I did something else in it. Oh yeah, the little owl. I think these will be Arteza, because I quite often take my Artezas to school, but I'm not bothered if some child steals a pencil to borrow. It's not the end of the world, is it? Whereas if it's my luminance, ugh, don't touch my pencils off my desk. But yeah, so there's the two of the, I'll probably do a couple more in those when we get to the winter season. I've got the seasons one. Why have I done it in horrific fluorescent pen at the front? I don't know, but I haven't coloured anything in it yet, but I have it. Then I have what is probably one of my favourite books. I love Magical Dawn, but I do love this as well. Tales from Forest Kingdom. I'm not even going to go there. But yeah, this is one of my favourite books. I very rarely do the front covers anymore. Since I did that first one, now I hate it. I can't make myself do it. This was one of my portraits in this, and I do still like this portrait. Portraits, I get quite nervous about starting a portrait, and sometimes I can kind of picture what I want to do with it, and other times it's kind of you're finding your way as you go through it, aren't you? But I did have a vague idea of what I wanted with this one, and yeah, I did enjoy building up all of these things. I love doing bees anyway, and flowers I really enjoy, and just the foresty nature of this book really suits me, and I like these little flower heads. I think I did draw her shoulders in on this book. I can't remember. I certainly drew the top in to match these little flowers. Why? I don't know. I have a feeling I did draw her shoulders in. Does it end there? I can't remember. Anyway, if you've got a copy, you'll know, won't you? But I think I did draw the shoulders in and the straps, and like she had a top on that matched her little necklace thing. But yeah, I really liked it. I think, again, it'll be on one of my videos somewhere. It's probably luminance. Most of my pages in Hanna Karlzon now are luminance. I was still having my battles with white lines. I think at this point, white lines, black lines, I think at this point I was going through a phase of inking them out with water-based white ink. I've probably got it in the drawer downstairs. But yeah, I think that's what I did on this, because I can kind of see the lines a little bit. But it does cause problems to colour over, particularly luminance, because it's so hard. This page is disaster. And it's kind of put me off working in this book. As you can see, I've attempted to fix it, but now it's super shiny, and I don't love that either. I'm living with it. The temptation to rip it out, but I can't get rid of her, so I can't. And sadly, this version is not available now. You can only get the English version, can't you? And I like the paper in this one, so I'm going to have to live with it. What else have I done in this lovely book? I've done the little fairy. She's got a very gold ink background. Why has it done this horrible texture? I'm living with it, but I don't like the texture. I do like her skirt and clothes and her wings though. Don't love her hair, but you know, it's okay. What else? Oh, this one I kind of love and hate. I quite like it if we just cover her lips up, because her lips are terrible. I don't know. I had real problems with her lips. I think I was again putting the ink on, but then when I came to colour over it, it kept cracking, so I think I painted over the lines on her lips, and before you know it, she's got these massive lips and they look terrible. So yeah, as long as you do that, she's not too bad. I quite like the rest. Quite like the feathers, quite like her hair, her eyes. Most of her face is okay. It's just her lips that are a bit of a disaster. I quite like some of this beadwork. Such an idiot. But yeah, as you can see, her lips are a disaster, and now they're at the point where I can't touch them because it just all cracks off. At some point I'm going to crack it all off and try and redo it, but it'll probably go even more wrong because it's had so much other rubbish on it in the meantime. This one's a fairly recent one. This one I think I'd painted over with white acrylic over the entire face to get rid of the black lines, which works in that all the black lines are gone, but it does leave you, as you can kind of see, with quite a heavy texture. Really eats your pencils, and it does not give you as smooth a skin tone. So it's definitely not something I'm going to do much more of. Painting out the whole skin, although it does kind of work, and you can then just work on it without worrying about the lines. I didn't do it on any of the details, you know, those I don't paint on, because that's just asking for trouble. You'll lose half your drawing. And then this one is probably one of my most favourite pages in this. It did take ages, and it's worn off a little bit because I keep taking it to different places to work on other pages, and I don't think the motion of being in a bag helps really with the colour pencil work. Again, it's chipping a little bit of my gel pen on the bulbs and things like that, but it did take a while, this page. But I really enjoyed some of the light sourcing and playing with the lights on the birds and on some of the leaves and on some of the gold sections. It was just a really interesting page to think about and build up, and I really like the bulbs being on it. It makes it a really interesting page. But there's loads in this book that I do want to work on. If only I was quicker. I can't work on that page because I've seen Zucchini Kitties and it's amazing, and now I can't see past it and I don't know what to do with it now. At some point maybe I will, who knows. But yeah, one of my favourites, Forest Kingdom. What else have I got? I'm going to shut this drawer before I kick it. I've got Tales from the Witch's Cottage. I've not done a huge amount in this really. I don't think this book's grabbed me as much as some of the others. Have I done anything? Oh yeah, I've done Witchy. Again, I think I drew a body in. It's not very successful. Just looking at it from there, it's far better like that. I quite like some of the background, watercoloured background, in metallics. I quite like that. Quite like the frog and the lighting on the frog. I think that's worked quite nicely as well. But I don't love her, I've got to be honest. I've made a bit of a mess of it. Oh, I've done these little bugs. I think they were King Art backgrounds. And some little bugs on there. I think that's all I've done in that one. And then I'm missing one, aren't I? What am I missing? Oh, let me grab it. Midnight Masquerade. I've got one of the early Midnight Masquerades that I think was a faulty print run that they, because if you look at this compared to the, oh, where's my book? If you look at this compared to the normal versions of these, they should be these little thin books, but I think this printer got confused, and so a lot of these are single-sided even though they shouldn't be. I've not worked a huge amount in this book. It doesn't call to me, this book, somehow. And I don't know why, because there are some lovely images that I've stupidly gessoed these pages. Been kicking myself ever since. I really wish I hadn't. Because as you can see, now the details are very difficult to see. At some point, I will have to tackle it. I don't know. I did this one. I think I did this one. Corey was doing some kind of challenge that she was doing this on a live, I think. So I think I was colouring this while they were colouring it on the live. I can't remember what it was for now. It was quite a while ago anyway. But yeah, I've done that one. I think, was that an Arteases? I can't remember now. Can't remember what it was in. I might have to look back in my videos to find out. I can't tell by looking. Who knows? But yeah, as you see, unless it's a double page, they're all single-sided, which is very handy, obviously. Oh yeah, I've done half of this double, so I've done the mermaid lady. Not done her hair from this one because I wanted her to be something different, but this hair took so long, and water, which I also don't enjoy particularly. So yeah, I've struggled to persuade myself to go back to her really. I don't know why, because I do quite like it. I just didn't enjoy doing it as much as I like the hair. I got a bit bored with her hair. I quite like her green skin. It wasn't terrible, considering I've not done anything like that before previously. But I think that is all my things from the lovely Hanna Karlzon. Oops, no, not all done. I had got her latest one, which obviously only has the two in that I've done already that you'll have seen recently on the channel. But yes, there was this one as well as this one. Both of these in lumens and Holbein's. And again, pretty recent, so you probably will have seen them. And yeah, I'm going to end this particular set of my colourings at this point, because I think it's going on for way too long already, because I've chatted a long time. But yeah, I'm going to do part 2 of all my finished colourings up to now, but this is the end of this first one. Thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.